love, everyone. I'm Diamond Petty, one of the founders of the For Life community, and it is hosted. Today's Empower Hour is hosted by the For Life community, which is empowered by WOW, which is a nonprofit organization in Prince George's County, and Humanitech, which is a technology and emotional wellness company where we teach people how to merge emotional intelligence and digital intelligence. But today, our special guest is a man by the name of Mr. Ed Kinney, who is here. We call this our Empower Hour, and we put him in the hot seat today to help us understand what is really going on with our energy bills. It is a lot of noise, ruckus, and I do understand because a lot of folks are paying a lot more money than they anticipate and a lot more money than they have. So I want to take the time to just first say welcome to the Empower Hour. Ed, how are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you very much.
You are
Having
fabulous. Well, we only have an hour of your time, so I don't want to take spend too much of it. I want to get dive right in. I have some questions for you. And before we get started about the energy, I always like to just get a pulse for the person that we're talking to. And so first I want you to tell us how long have you been in the industry? I mean, excuse me, the energy industry.
I got into the energy industry exactly February 23rd, 2009.
Oh, wow.
Day that changed my life forever.
And what was your reason for getting involved in the industry?
Well, I was kind of young family, couple little kids, and I had run a company, Nextel, Motorola, two-way radio company for years. And the company Nextel, which I was passionate about, they had a really neat technology for two-way radio and cell phone where you could push a button and talk to somebody. Um, and that company got acquired by a company called Sprint, who most people probably know of today. I wasn't over the top excited about Sprint. I had 20 locations in Maryland, and Sprint told me I had to redo all my stores to be Sprint stores, which is going to cost me about $2 million. I was 44 years old. I said, nah, I'm not interested in that. I was actually 40 years old. And I was like, I don't want to spend $2 million to do that. I'm not passionate about the Sprint company like I was Nextel. So I'm going to sell the business. So I sold it, but I didn't sell it for enough money to sail off into the sunset. So I was like, at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to find my next leg and my next journey. And that's when I received the fateful call from a good fateful call from a friend in New Jersey. He said, Ed, something big's happening in the world of energy. I know that you know about deregulation because of telecom. The same thing's happening in the world of energy. Come up to New Jersey, sit down with us, and let us talk to you about what we see happening. I did that, and that was it. Hook, line, and sinker. I went in. I said, "This is definitely my new home."
Wow. So you are really dating yourself with the Nextel. I remember those phones. I was literally working at the FCC and I was processing the applications because there was a backlog. And then I do remember Sprint. So you're dating yourself telling us about Nextel and Sprint. And Sprint always overcharged, but we're not going to talk about Sprint right now.
Yeah.
Um, but I like to do things that conversational, and I do have some questions that were sent in from us for us to ask you. So one of the things that I would just say from the very beginning, if someone was overwhelmed right now about their energy bill, what would be one or two things that you would tell them that they can do immediately to help them with either lowering the costs or helping them kind of conserve energy so the cost isn't so high? What would be two things I'm going to say, right? You would tell them right now that they could apply.
Okay, so there's two, are we talking state specific or just macro USA?
Well, right now we're talking customers period across the world. So we're going to get into like what are programs outside of the home and something they can do right now in the home. So say for instance, you have a Tesla. What would you tell a Tesla driver or someone with an electric car to do right now to conserve energy anywhere in the world right now in the country?
Well, there's a couple things like there's a thing called time of use, right? Where the energy costs overnight when we're sleeping are very, very, very low. Okay. Call it a penny a kilowatt. As opposed to during the day when everyone's using energy, maybe it's 30 cents a kilowatt. So imagine if you could flip flop your life and only use energy overnight and not use it during the day, your utility bill would go down probably 80%, right? So if you were a Tesla owner or any kind of hybrid owner where you plug in your vehicle, inside that vehicle's operating system, there's a way that you can time when you charge your car. So when you get home from work, the natural thing is, okay, I got to go back to work tomorrow. I'm going to plug in my car. Well, if you just plug it in, it's going to start charging. But if you tell the system in the car to say, don't charge unless it's between midnight and 6 in the morning, and you can do that with any car. That way, you're charging it when the energy costs are cheaper than they would be when you get home from work. When you get home from work at 6 o'clock or something, that's the worst time you could possibly charge your car. So that's
Wow.
one just little thing. Another thing would be like thermostats, right? You have thermostats. Get smart thermostats installed. It might cost a little bit to get them. You can be thrifty, Amazon, eBay kind of thing. You can call the utility to say, do you have a deal on smart thermostats? They always do because they want you to get it too.
Mhm.
They want you to use energy more efficiently as well. They're very motivated to make that happen. So you get them installed. You can do it yourself. Just watch some YouTube videos. It's not that intimidating. And then you program it from your phone to say, okay, I work 9 to 5. Um, so when I'm not home, why would I need the air conditioning unit to crank all day when I'm not home? Listen, if I can have it pre-cool the house for half an hour before I get home, that's great. But during the day, it's 90 degrees out in Baltimore. I have my thermostat set for 70. That thing is always going to be going and cause an electricity draw from the grid. But if you say, let's take a break from 9 to 5 and move the thermostat up to say 80 degrees when you're not there, then when you come home, say at 4:30, you could program all this stuff into your phone to say pre-cool the house back to 70. And then when you go to bed at night, overnight, when you're asleep, you don't know what's going on. I mean, I like a cold room. I like a warm house, but a cold room. That's me, right?
Me too. Me
So
too.
I'm like, okay, overnight, if it's wintertime, I don't care if it drops down to 60 degrees overnight. I just know when I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, I'll have it jacket up to 70. So when I get out of bed, it's not freezing, right? So there's certain things that you have control over that are new and will really make an impact on your utility bill for sure.
So that is well, one of the things you just said, I know you're probably not like me. I'm going through the change, so I have to have a cold at night, right?
Yep, I get
But
it.
one of the things that I do know I've heard you talk about is in addition to Tesla drivers charging their cars late at night, there's another option for them with their utility or energy company. Can you share what that is that they can actually ask for? Something you shared with us one time at a meeting.
Yep. So I found this out just by happenstance. I'm sitting there one night, I'm online, and I wanted to go look for my BG&E bill to make a copy of it because I was doing a meeting the next day. So I'm in my BG&E account, and a little thing pops up saying, "Hey, we've identified that you're an electric car owner." And we partner with this company called Weave Grid. Weave Grid. I was like, okay, what's Weave Grid? So I click on it to learn more. There's a little video that says, hey, we partnered with the utility to help manage your car charging for you. And by you opting into this program, we're going to save you about $240 a year just because you allow us to charge your car at optimal times. So you can plug it in and never worry about it. And we're going to use optimal times when energy costs are cheap to charge your car. If you don't do it, no big deal. But if you do it, you're going to save money. And it's going to be an item on your bill called other items. Uh, and ever since I've been on it, I've saved about anywhere from 20 to $40 a month from just getting a credit because I'm doing it. And I really, my car charges, I get 300 miles per charge. So during the day, typically, I never have to charge for like a week, but I just keep it plugged in and it always optimizes for me and gives me bill credits. I need to
Mm.
go away on a trip and I need to override the system. Every time I charge it, I put the charger in, it says, if you want to override it, click charge now and it will override our instructions because sometimes if you're going to New Jersey, you can't afford to take a risk that it didn't charge properly overnight. So I just do it and it's no big deal. It hasn't hurt me at all. And I rarely have to do it. So it's pretty, technology's coming into play big time.
And that's exciting because that's going to pivot into what we're getting ready to talk about now. What I was doing here was reverse engineering this interview, right? Because I wanted people to see the human side of you. I wanted them to know that you are a regular consumer, right? A regular consumer first. And now we're going to talk about who you are in the industry of energy. So, can you just tell us the company you represent and what your company is all about?
Yeah, so I represent a company called Think Energy, okay, and that's been in existence for the last 3.5 years. And after all the things that I learned from 2009 to 2023, was all from 2009 to 2023, everything was analog with energy, right? There were no real smart meters out there. There was nothing any technology was able to do to make any impact whatsoever. But slowly but surely, during the course of that period, states had authorized smart meters. So people, were hesitant to get smart. I don't want some smart meter on my house. It was, Big Brother stuff and all that. But eventually, they plowed that field. Everyone's got smart meters now. And it is smart that we do it because without having smart meters, the grid would right now melt. It literally wouldn't work. Like
Wow.
if we didn't do the smart meter transition from 2009 to 2020, we wouldn't be able to have a grid like that. That's how big it was. So, so all the things that I didn't like about the energy industry was what I learned from 2009 to 2023. But when the founder and CEO of Think Energy came and asked us to come up to his house because he was going to launch something that was very different than anything we'd ever seen before. It's going to change, it's like a paradigm shift using technology to innovate. Deregulation is one thing where you allow competition to come in and compete. But another big part of deregulation is innovation. Okay. A good example of that would be the telecom industry. Used to be one company, Ma Bell.
Yes.
If it was still Ma Bell, we would barely even have cell phones now, big ones in our cars. Like, because there was no need for them to innovate. There was no need for them to compete. They were just slugs. It's like a slug going up a tree. There's no need to get to
Yes.
the top anytime
I
soon.
remember those. We called them dinosaur phones.
Yeah,
I remember
dinosaur
those.
phones. Then deregulation happened. All of a sudden, competition. CLEC started to happen where long distance could be cheaper if you did it with me. Big phase through that. And then cellular came where you're like, there was a period of time like in 1992 to 5, where if you were in a public street and you had a cell phone and you were on it, everybody in that neighborhood would have wanted to run you over with a car. They're like, look at that jerk, thinks they're so important, they're on a cell phone. And slowly but surely, that stigma left because everyone started
Yes.
to realize the freedom of being able to communicate on the go. So, so innovation became that cell phone. And then the real massive innovation came that iPhone. That was the real big boom of innovation when everyone started to say, holy cow, not only can I just talk on my phone, but now I can do business and do the internet and all that. So it changed everything. The similar thing is happening in energy right now where the iPhone, which think energy is like the Apple of the future of energy. It's doing
Mm.
things differently with technology rather than just the brawn of doing things that everybody else is doing, just trying to figure out a way to do it a little bit better. Those days are over.
So I have to correct you on one thing. It was the BlackBerry first.
Yes, for sure.
I was a
Yeah,
BlackBerry lover. I did not want to let go of my BlackBerry. So I'll correct
I
you on
was
that
too.
one.
Believe you me,
And
the Nextel didn't have the iPhone. So all these people we were watching, all these people get iPhones. I was a BlackBerry guy. I was like, I'm never gonna want to. I need a keypad to touch my finger on. I remember talking to my brother Jimmy. He's like, dude, there's no keypad. This you just and I'm like, no, that's not me. I need to touch the keypad. So you'll never convince me that Apple's good. But eventually, look what happened. Nextel got bought out, and voila. Uh,
And innovation, I think that is very important at this time because a lot of times when there's innovation, it disrupts things and it makes things uncomfortable for a minute because there's learning curves, there's adjustment curves, there's what is this new thing. I can remember when we went from a dot matrix processor to a computer. It's just what is this? They want us to do this. I don't want to do that. You and your BlackBerry, me and my BlackBerry, me and my Android, all those things. But one of the things I keep hearing people talk about, and I don't think the average person even understands, they know what's going on with their bill, but they don't understand what they mean when they say the grid. So, can you give us a little, just a quick little lesson on what is the grid that we keep talking about when it comes to energy?
So the grid is that massive pipeline of wires, poles, and pipes to get energy delivered to your home or business. Now think about what it takes to keep a grid just in existence versus upgrading a grid to
Alexa.
handle the future of what's coming down the pike. The grid is what the utility owns. They've built it from scratch. They've taken wires and they've had to absorb the storms that come and topple trees over wires and pipes and poles. They have to maintain it. It costs a fortune just to maintain the grid, let alone the billions it would take to upgrade the grid to what we really need it to be. So the grid is where you're building generation. I have a natural gas facility. I have a wind farm. I have a solar farm. It all feeds into the grid, which then the grid distributes the energy to all of the demand users. That's what the grid is. And there's four grids in this country. Okay. We are in our area in Maryland, we're on what's called the PJM grid. It was started out as Pennsylvania, Jersey, and Maryland, but it's expanded into other states. But it's called the PJM grid.
And that grid, so PJM, what does PJM stand for?
It stands for Pennsylvania, Jersey, and Maryland. But
So I'm
now it's
taking I'm
bigger.
taking notes because I always have my pen, so I'm learning.
Yeah.
So I'm in Columbia, and one of the things I noticed when we had the last ice storm, I was sharing with a friend of mine, I was concerned that we may lose power. And she said, you don't have to worry about losing power because all of our electricity, I don't know what she was calling, I guess the equipment is underground. And it was then that I noticed when I look around, I don't see any of the poles or anything like that. Are those still pulling from the same grid, or what's the difference in the poles and those that are underground? What's the difference in that?
The bottom line is that it's the same grid. It's just Columbia was planned differently. Okay. Columbia was a planned ecosystem back in the 70s, right? And it was a planned community, one of the first in the country. So when you're smart, and there's a lot of places that are smart, they have the a way to think forward. Would it be better to have the energy grid a necessity? It's become a necessity. Would it be better for it to be protected underground, or would
Yes.
it be better to be over up near the trees? And obviously, forward-thinking communities that worked together said, let's put it underground. It's going to be much safer there. So if we could go back and do it all over again, everything would have been built underground. But today, it's almost impossible with eminent domain, people own property. You can't do this. The permits required. It would take an active, you know who, to get that done in many places.
So do you see, because I see the difference just in the way things look. It just looks different without all these poles and everything. So they probably saving money because, like you said, it's protected underground. So the
Yep.
wires and stuff are not being compromised, especially during storms.
Yep.
So now that we understand that is where we're getting our energy from, what is causing our energy? our grid to be pulled on? What is the big thing that's causing it to have such a pull right now?
So the grid was only built uh, for so much demand, right? And to upgrade the grid to where it could handle, 2 to 3 times the load of what's required, it would literally be billions upon billions of dollars of investment. They've been very reluctant to do that, right? Because how do you upgrade a grid without disrupting everything? Where do you get the funding from? It's very challenging. So they've opted to do workarounds, use technology to figure out how to use the grid in its existence. But with that comes understandably outages. Okay. Now, outages that we've seen today are typically storm related, and you will see rolling blackouts. You probably get a text alert on your phone. We have a rolling blackout because there's massive demand. Typically, it'll be a summer day, 100 degrees. Everyone's using electricity, air conditioning, all that. And the grid just simply cannot handle it. So it needs to shut places down and roll. Rolling blackouts mean this area is going to be affected for a little while, so we can redivert the energy to this, and then they're gonna have to take their time and their hour down. So rolling blackouts have just become kind of a new phenomena, but it's now going to become the new norm, and it's going to get a lot worse because
Okay.
there's so much more demand that's being created from, think about it. How many cars are being sold that get plugged into the grid now that never did before? Every car
Hmm.
before, call it 15 years ago, was just gas. Now we've got probably 40% of all the cars that are like hybrids that are actually getting plugged into the grid. That was never supposed to happen.
And my new best friend, I know you being polite to me, but share what's another pull on the grid that's coming.
The biggest one that's coming is used to be, all right, remember Google. When Google,
Yes,
when you do searches, the amount of computing power back in those days was like, oh, we've got the internet search and building all these things with search queries, Ask Jeeves, all these Yahoo search and AOL. You remember it was broadband was the problem.
yes.
Energy. Now all of a sudden you have to have all these computers burning, and then
And data and
crypto
those
miners,
and those those big heavy whatever those things were where they held all that data in it.
server farms, uh,
Yes.
all those server.
Server farms, that's what it
Yep.
was.
So then that if that wasn't bad enough, enter in the age of Bitcoin and mining
Yes.
machines, where all of a sudden people were going up to Niagara Falls, buying houses to just load up Bitcoin machines because energy was 2 cents a kilowatt hour. And then the utilities started to see a house that was using 1,000 kilowatts is now using 100,000 kilowatts a month, and they would shut them down. So the Bitcoin industry is, what do we do? So the Bitcoin industry just went from state to state trying to figure out who had the lowest energy costs. Because you want to talk about an energy suck. Mining any kind of Bitcoin or any kind of coin is very intense, but it's nothing compared to what is on the horizon, what's been happening slowly but surely over the last 2 years. And now it's starting to hit like a jet airplane, and that's AI. AI
Yes.
data centers. You can't go into the news without seeing on the front page somewhere where this county is denying a data center. We don't want the data center here. Energy prices are going to go through the roof. So there's a real problem we have on our hands. And you could just go into yourself and go into Google or AI and say, what's the biggest challenge in the energy markets in the next 10 years? And you'll see article after article, interview after interview with the top AI people saying, we need energy. We need massive energy creation.
And I had never even thought about the Bitcoin mining era. Boy, do I remember that. I mean, even getting in them businesses and trying to be a part of making money on it, it was painfully hard.
Yep.
Once we lost some money, I lost money, but we'll talk about that another day too. However, when you talk about AI, I hear people saying AI is coming and the data centers are pulling out energy. What does that look like? Because I remember those, heavy equipment when we did get computers and servers. So what about AI is now going to take more energy from the grid?
So, AI is kind of like, think about like the world's information highway of human beings, the smartest human being in the world. And any kind of job you could think about. There's things today where they say, listen, if you're a first year med student, if you're a first year legal student, you want to get to become a lawyer, don't. Just don't. I mean, there's no need for it, right? Within 4 or 5 years, those industries are gone. Why? Because AI is always learning. It's always consuming. I like to call it, and this guy Nate, who I met, taught me this one. There's a game we used to play with Atari called Pac-Man.
Oh,
Uh,
I love Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man. I play it for hours and
yep,
hours.
hours upon hours, and all you did was go and eat as many dots as you could. Call Pac-Man AI because AI is a monster for all electrons. It will take every electron that's available and suck it in because if you're in a constant state of uh, like like incredible learning, just learning everything, computer farms going nuts, building computer data centers that are bigger than 15 football fields combined. Think about that. And all of
Mm,
that, the heat and the electricity pull that's coming in. And how do we make electricity? Think about that. This is the biggest challenge. We know that AI is consuming everything that is possibly available. But how do you create new electricity? Through massive regulatory hurdles you have to go through to create natural gas facilities, power plants, coal power plants, community solar fields, wind farms, nuclear, everything you could possibly think of. It takes time. You have to go through regulations. So it's such a desperate situation right now because at the same time, the natural person could say, why don't we just freaking slow it down a little bit and make it happen gradually? Okay. Well, guess what? There's a race. It's like the nuclear arms race from the 80s. Who's going to own AI? Is it going to
yes.
be us? Is it going to be China? Is it going to be Russia? Who is going to own AI? There is a race right now. So you can't
And
sleep on it.
outside of that, like how addictive I was thinking of Pac-Man because I was like, if AI is like me and Pac-Man, we in big trouble because I go all the way up to all the levels. Like I love Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man. But now that AI is such a phenomenon and people are seeing how much great stuff it can do, it's going to be more and more people that's just like, oh, it's like playing Pac-Man. Like, this is really great. We're able to do this and do that. So I can see visually once you use Pac-Man what is going on. So now we see, like with the grid, where the problem is, what we're pulling from. So now we're in a place where we have to create a solution in the midst of a problem. And that solution is not coming quick enough. So, if I could assume properly, it is because everybody's excited about Pac Man, quote unquote AI, and more people are pulling on the grid because they want to play the game, right? Now, the second part is how do we create solutions in the midst of the storms? And that is what Think Energy is all about. So, can you share with us what are some of the innovative things that Think is doing and what is going on? You know, this is Earth Day, right? So, what is going on to help with impacting our, planet? What are some of the solutions around that? Can you just take a minute or two and share on that?
Yeah, well, first thing I want to say, the only difference between Pac-Man and AI is that when you were playing Pac-Man, your mother would come in every once in a while and say, you need to take a break and come have dinner, and you would have to stop. Okay.
Yes.
With AI, there's no mother. There's no one telling, just take a break.
And with these iPhones, right?
Exactly. So basically, the reason why people always ask me why are energy costs going up? Because when you have a supply demand imbalance, if there was a lot of supply and not a lot of demand, energy prices would be very cheap. But if you have an unlimited amount of demand and an extremely limited amount of supply, you have this imbalance that is unsustainable. If we did nothing to help with the energy sourcing, a energy bill will eventually overtake a mortgage payment. It would just be a question of a couple, 3 to 5 more years. If we didn't create more energy and get it on the grid, energy bills would be higher than mortgage bills. It just would. So energy is something that's deemed a necessity. We can't have people not able to afford their electricity bills. So there's no silver bullet solution. A lot of it's going to be uh, chopping through regulatory red tape to make things happen faster. For example, if I'm a data center, I can get special permissions to create a little nuclear reactor near my data center that and create my own little grid. Those are things that are being talked about, but those are very specialty things. Only deep pockets are going to be able to afford to do that. For everything else, we're all in it together. So there's things that people can do. One of the solutions that our company comes up with is becoming a VPP. People say, what's a VPP? You're going to all hear the word VPP from now on. I guarantee. Now that I say it, you're going to start hearing it all the time. It's called a virtual power plant. Okay. So, what I mean by virtual is our company is creating a solution. It's not the end all be all solution for the big problem, but it's a great one. It's going to make a lot of people a lot of money and it's going to help alleviate the grid. Whereas I say, listen, Diamond, you use power during the day when the energy prices are very expensive. You don't really use much at night when I wish you would. So what we're going to do as a company is we're going to give you a battery free of charge. We're going to have an installer, professional installer come over to your house, put it in, and we have technology now that we can communicate with that battery. So we can say, hey, battery, wake up. It's 2 in the morning. It's time to get up and go to work. And we're going to ask that battery to consume electricity at 2 in the morning when nobody else is using it. So the battery's charging itself up. And we say, okay, we only paid a penny per kilowatt. We got 1,000 kilowatts in that battery, and we only paid a penny. Cost us $10 to fill that battery up. Now, during the day, the battery goes to sleep. And then we wake it up again for a different job at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We say, battery, it's time to wake up and work again. We need you to relieve yourself, like go to the bathroom, right? Get rid of that power. So you're taking 1,000 kilowatts and pushing it out at 30 cents. 30 times 1,000 is what? $300.
Yes.
So we're buying 1,000 kilowatts at 10 cents and selling it at 30 cents. It's actually $30, whatever. So that's pretty good. And what the real effect is on the grid is we're taking a home off the grid at a time where it's critical, where the grid is overwhelmed with everyone using electricity. If we can take a house off the grid, it makes room for another house to come on. So you can imagine
Mhm.
if our company gets to 1 million batteries out there and we're equalizing the grid. We're basically stabilizing the grid. We're creating demand overnight for charging the batteries when it's cheap and using that all during the day, which allows more things to come on the grid without affecting the price that much for consumers. So everyone benefits by what we're going to do. It's a benefit for everybody, but the people that actually get the batteries, it's a major benefit for them because
So how in my head I'm trying to figure out when you say at night it consumes electricity, like how is it consuming electricity? What is that process? How is it doing that?
so like all right, so your phone, imagine your phone you say okay, it needs a charge. And 2 o'clock in the morning, you charge your phone to the grid, you connect it to the grid, and the battery sucks the grid power and charges to 100%, right? So that's what I'm talking about. We're our technology at corporate headquarters can tell that battery now's the time to charge. We don't need to send someone over there to plug it in. Our technology can do it because it's a smart
Oh,
meter. It's a smart meter. So the meter
oh.
says, okay, this battery it's like almost like we plugged it in at 2 in the morning. Now it's charging up to 100%.
So it's like I have one of those battery packs for my cell phone. So
Yeah,
typically at night, I do charge my battery pack up. So if I'm out, I'm not near an outlet or anything. So is that kind of like the same thing?
same exact
So
thing. And
I don't have to use the car, or if I'm somewhere where I don't have access to the.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So
So
then
now
during the
that
day,
makes
think
sense.
about this. It's 3 o'clock in the day. The grid's getting pounded with demand. It can't handle it. And our system sees an opportunity to say, okay, we're going to take this house off the grid. It's not going to need energy from the grid because the house is going to get all the energy it needs from the battery. So we're pulling the house off the grid and the battery is charging it. The consumer, the house owner, they don't even know what happened. We push a button, they can't tell the difference of whether they're getting energy from the grid or just getting it from their battery. Like the internet didn't even restart, or the clock on their microwave didn't even reset. It happens in a millisecond. So now that's the first benefit is that we're going to give that house owner a massive discount on their electricity bill because they allowed us to install the battery there. But
So
we're
that's a
also,
part of a solution for the environment, again, for Earth Day,
yes,
right? So we're
you
not
got it.
pulling, because this is Earth Day, so we want to stay within that as well. But okay, so that's a solution because they're not pulling as much, right?
Yep. They don't have to create more electricity than what they already have because the energy is coming into the grid no matter what. In the nighttime, the energy just dissipates. Nobody uses it because it's not storable. We're storing it. So, from an Earth perspective, there's really nothing more than you can do to help the Earth than what we're doing, except just not using electricity at all. That's the only thing that you could do that would be better than what we're doing.
And then what's some of the other solutions the company offers?
So, think about this concept now. So, you've already got a battery installed in your home, you've got a massive savings because you have the battery. We're giving you, for letting us have it there, a big discount on your electricity bill. Plus, when the rolling blackouts happen, what we first started talking about, these rolling blackouts from the grid, they don't affect you because your battery is a backup. It acts as like a generator. So the grid goes down, say a storm comes into town, grid goes down. You don't even know. You're looking around at all your neighbors, all you see is dark houses, but you got light. All your
You got
neighbors,
a battery pack like my
yeah,
cell phone.
exactly. Your neighbors are looking at your house saying, "What the heck?" They don't even have a generator because I don't hear any noise. There's no noise coming from Ed's house, but his lights are on and ours are off. What is going on? I'm going over there tomorrow and I'm going to ask Ed, what's that all about? And I'm going to show him my battery. So you need to
That
get,
is cool. So explain to me, because we're hearing a lot about this solar, right? Solar energy. Can you give us a quick little lesson on what is solar energy and how does that help the grid or help us as a consumer?
yeah. So many smart states have allowed community solar programs in the state, which allows basically entrepreneurs to come in and work out deals with either farmers or building owners or parking lots to say, hey, I want to build a solar farm on 10 acres of your farmland, and I'm going to pay you a monthly stipend, a lease for that land for 20 years. I'll give you $1,000 an acre for 20 years. Farmer says, thank you. That's great. You just saved me because now I can pay all the property taxes for my farm. And I say, okay, I'm going to build a solar farm and I'm going to connect that solar farm directly into the grid. So when the sun's shining down all day, energy, clean energy is going directly into the utility grid, not just from one home, but from a field of solar panels, equivalent of 1,000 homes.
Mm,
Electricity is going into the grid, all clean energy, all coming from the sun, which is free. There's the sun shining for 1 second. If we could capture all that second's worth of energy, could empower the world for a year. 1 second
wow.
capturing the entire sun would empower the entire globe for a year. So the sun is
So is
free.
it something that is going to eventually replace the traditional energy supply of the way we're getting energy, or how is that? Because are they storing it like you do with the battery too, or because the
No,
sun is not
some
shining all
farms
the
are.
time?
Some farms are. The storage adds another level of cost that's kind of prohibitive. Um, Utilities would love to store energy, but it's too cost prohibitive for them to manage and everything. So the batteries work great as an individual solution. It does work great for if I had a solar farm and you could have a battery and sell it back. That would be great, but the extra cost. The reason why the solar works really well in certain states is because there is a subsidy where the state will give you a 20% rebate on the cost of the project. So let's say the state of Maryland and the federal government combine 50%. We build a farm that costs 10 million. We know we're going to get 5 million back in subsidies. That makes it possible for us to build. Once we build it, the utility is going to guarantee purchase the energy from that farm every single month. So it's like a guaranteed residual income for me, the farm owner. Okay. So that's a good business to get into, but it's harder now to find land. You would need way too much land to replace real fossil fuels. So solar's a great thing, but it's not great enough to replace the whole thing. It would take up way too much real estate. That's the one big drawback. It can't create enough power without taking up lots of space.
So I hear you saying like the government's going to give the money to the farmers, of course, the money that the taxpayers we pay, right? To
Yep,
the
it is.
farmers,
It's
right?
us. It's us
And
paying.
so we're getting like a rebate of the money we're paying into this. Will that mean eventual savings going, I mean, like energy prices going down as a result of getting more of these farms? So that would be the question that most people would have, right?
So a lot of people don't know this, but if they look at their utility bill, there's a bunch of line items. It's so confusing, people just don't look at it. But there's line items that are taxes and assessments. These are all things that have been built in to pay for all these things. So everyone's paying for this stuff. Okay, if you take $5 out of everyone's pocket to a million people, you got 5 million bucks. Nobody really noticed it. But when you get programs like community solar in a state, there's ways to go and get that money back just by learning that it's available. So, like in Maryland, there's a program called the Community Solar Program of Maryland. You can enroll in the program and get 10% back on your utility bill. So, the smart people who are aware of this are able to get that back. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone's
So when
paying
you
for it.
say you, who is you? You can
You, the
enroll.
ratepayer, you, the utility bill payer.
So homeowners, renters,
Homeowners, renters, everyone. There's two programs in at least in my state of Maryland. Call up the utility and say, "Hey, I want to get the light bulbs and there's a light bulb program, and they give you faucets for your showers and surge protectors, and some of them even give you smart thermostats. You're all paying for it little by little every month. Nobody really knows. So you call up and say, I want it. They're going to give it to you. But maybe 5 or 10% of the people know about it and call. Same goes with community solar. Everyone can get 10% off their bill every month. They just don't know the program exists. They don't know to do it. So
and so that means they don't have to worry. Because whenever I talk to people, sometimes they say, "Well, that doesn't mean my bill is they're gonna change my electricity bill, or my bill gonna go up, or how can the panels? I don't want to put the panels on my house." So you're saying they don't have to put panels on their house, and this is basically not touching their utility price of their electricity.
nothing. With the utility, everybody pays the same price. Whether you're a good user or not, everyone pays the same price. Okay. If you opt in for the state program of community solar, the utility says, okay, they're opting in for the state program. We're going to credit their bill every month 10%. That's all that changes. Just see a
And
10% credit.
credit to what? Is it off the electricity use, or what are they getting 10% off?
They get 10% off of three components of the bill: the supply, generation, the delivery, and transmission. It's about 90% of the whole bill. They get a 10% bill credit on. 10% are taxes and ancillary charges. Nobody's going to give a discount on that or a credit on that. So if your bill's 100, $90 of that, you would get a $9 credit on your bill just for enrolling in the program. Do you know how many?
And so you said three other things, because most people don't realize it's not just electricity, but what is the delivery charge, transmission, and what's the third one? Generation. What are those charges?
So this is a big one, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of people, when you yell at the utility for the cost of electricity, utility companies, at least in deregulated markets, it's illegal for them to profit from the sale of electricity. Think about that. So you use 1,000 kilowatts a month, they have to deliver it to you. They can't profit from the sale of the electricity. They can only profit from delivering it to your home. So the utilities own the pipes, wires, and poles. They deliver and transmit the electricity to your home or natural gas to your home. They can't profit from the actual cost of electricity. They have to buy an electron from a natural gas or a solar farm and give it to you at the cost that they paid for it. They can't profit from it.
So real quick, so like gas, when they delivering gas to gas stations, they are profiting off of the transport from if I'm getting
That-
gas from over here,
yes, but not,
kind of sort
that's a
of.
different kind of utility. The
But I
utility
mean,
I'm
just
talking
it's
about
if
is just
in
the
theory, like it would be the person who's driving the trucks back and forth with the
bingo.
they get paid. They're not getting paid technically for the gas, but they're the transporter,
Yeah,
right? They're transporting it from one gas, from wherever they get it from. So that's what the utility companies are making more money on because it's costing them more to maintain whatever that is that gets it from
bingo.
over here
There,
to there, right? So because
grid.
I'm a visual person, and so I'm trying to make it make sense for me. And so you're saying that the utility company does not make money off of the energy cost, whatever that is coming to the grid.
Correct.
However,
Gasoline, the physical gasoline, they don't
yes,
make money on that. They only
yes.
make money on getting the gasoline into your home so that your house can power.
And the reason why those prices are going up is the poles or the equipment or whatever it is that they're using. You're saying that they're having probably challenges, or are those things being compromised and it's costing them more to maintain them? Or it's like trucks, gas trucks, right? You got some new ones, they probably running real good. They old, now you got more fixes, you're trying to replace, you're trying to keep up the maintenance of it.
Yep,
And the prices of everything is going up, including the gas prices, right? So if they transporting it, so that is what's jacking up the cost. Is that what you're saying?
exactly. There's two things. There's two components to why it's going up. The cost to maintain the grid and modernize the grid. Okay, they go to the Public Service Commission every year and say, we need to increase our rates. They've never gone and said, hey, we're good. They've never gone to the Public Service Commission and said, no problem this year, everything's good. They always go and ask for increases. Okay. For the electric supply part, the gasoline part, there's a component in there called the capacity tags, capacity charges. And that is measured 3 times a year during the summer months, where the utility pings every house. And depending upon how much energy they're using at that exact second of time, is reported back on what your capacity tags are going to be. Okay. So that is the guarantee that we will have enough electricity on the grid during the most peak times over the summer. Like a guarantee that you will always have energy on the grid to for the demand, to meet the demand. Those capacity auctions happen once a year. And those are the things that are crushing us right now. That's the abnormal thing. Because when they take that measurement, the capacity tags are outstripping anything we've ever seen in the history of the grid, especially over the last 3 years because of AI.
Okay. So I'm looking at time here, and I don't want to, this is really good and this is very educational. And I think that is what the consumer need is more understanding. Everybody's looking at their bottom line in their pocketbook, right? I'm looking at my pocketbook. But I want to know what I'm paying for. So that's why I say this is very educational. But I know we have others on here. I don't know if anyone has questions. If you do, feel free to put your question in the chat. And if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, feel free to do that. Raise your hand, I guess, and we will take your question. But this is very informative because I think a lot of times the person that's causing the problem is not being seen because we're programmed to see one thing, right? Like if my phone stops working, I'm just thinking it's the iPhone, but it could be a multitude of things that's causing it not to work. But I'm just thinking, oh, this phone is broke. it could be like the whatever went down with the whoever. I guess I'm with who am I with? T-Mobile. It could be T-Mobile's servers or whatever, but I'm just like, oh, my phone is broke. And that's what you're saying is some of what people are upset about is not even the electricity supply that's causing the problem. It's the maintenance of keeping that supply going.
You know, can I dare to say something slightly controversial?
Say it.
Okay. If you really want to know what the crux of the biscuit is, it's actually been energy policy for the last 15 to 20 years from a government perspective. Because if you think about it, there are going to be solutions that come for the green people out there. AI is going to create solutions that make us look back at this period of time and say, oh my gosh, what were we thinking? Like, why did we panic? What was happening? What are these humans thinking? Because we stopped generation. We made it so impossible for electricity to be generated, and we went in to do other things and red tape and regulations and everything. And now we're stuck in this place where we can't like get out of this bind that we're in. But if time will always bring a solution to humanity. Humans are smart, and AI will always come with a solution. Be like, hey, knuckleheads, you know you can create energy this way without having to use anything. There'll be a time, 15, maybe, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years from now, where we don't even have wires and poles and pipes anymore. I mean,
Like here in Colombia. It's so
yeah,
clean out here. Like when I look around, it's so clean. And I never understood why it felt clean. When I say that, I'm not saying it's dirty anyway. I'm just saying like it's not cluttered. And then when I go in other places, I
beautiful.
see that and it's a whole different environment. But you're right. And, from a spiritual place, I'm always like, God created all things. That's why I named my company Humanitech, right? Humans are technology, which means whatever we can create, that's what we are. And
Yep.
typically, whenever there's a challenge of some sort, we lock in. That's why people pray, right? Because they're asking for answers and solutions. We want to know, help us get to wherever we're trying to go. And we have to have more. What I'm hearing you say is we have to have more faith in humanity that we're going to figure this out.
Yep.
It's
This is
going to, it's
self-inflicted,
something that's
self-inflicted
going
wound.
to work if we take our eyes off of the inconvenience. Because sometimes we have to pay more to get less so that we can create the solution, right? Like I think about me always trying to lose weight and on a diet and stuff, and I got to go to the gym and my membership. But if I really want to get in shape, I have to pay a little bit more for the best trainer that can get me to where I'm trying to go, who knows the little things, or I can just keep paying that one little gym membership and only just do what I can do, which is very minimum, and never get to where I'm trying to go. So I think what you're saying is trust humanity that we're going to figure this out. And we have some things right now that can help people at least somewhat as we're figuring it out, which is one in Maryland, which is really important that people on here know. We have the rebate system, I'll say, the 10 to 15%, because some people can get 15%, right?
Correct. Yep.
And
That's why we
that's,
designed the program for the people in need most that are on benefit programs and stuff. They need the most help. They gave them an extra 15% or an extra 5% on top of the 10. That's human nature. That's humans being humans. That's good. I like
yes.
the program. And they made it into the law. So it really helps the people that need it the most.
And so, is there any questions? I don't see any hands up. I know we have folks here who are in the community that are supporters of the community. We have some nonprofit organization founders and leaders. Do you all have anything you would like to share or ask with Mr. Kinney?
So this is Nicole Smith. I absolutely love this dialogue because you just hit on so many different points that people are definitely wondering why, and you provided the answer to it. I will say that um, when people think about solar, they're automatically thinking about panels, right? And the panels being on their rooftop. Can you speak towards the bad experience that some people might have with their panels, or and how this is not that as far as this particular program that you're offering through the community solar program.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I think solar, there's some, just like anything else, there's good actors and not so good actors, right? And over the past, it's always been imagined kind of like egregious compensation has been one of the big drivers. If you could take a solar panel system, plug it onto your house, and forget about the compensation part, right? It's a great deal for everybody. Everybody wins. You get cheap electricity, you're self-sufficient, you're doing everything right. It's when it gets cloudy with people not knowing anything about rebates and stuff. They jack up prices and people ended up paying too much for the solar system, or they leased it for long periods of time with interest rate, cost of living expenses that made it where if you were saving, you weren't. Over time. It just increased. So people have had bad experiences, but at the same time, I'm a proponent of solar. I believe in it. I think if you can get solar and you can get the right person to provide it, maybe interview 5 or 6 companies and see the differences. I'm a proponent of it because energy prices are not going to get cheaper. They're not. And if you can afford it, that's another thing I don't love about it. It's only there for the people that can afford it, really. If you can't afford it, it's a great thing, but you can't access it. So that's why the community solar was created for all the people that couldn't get solar. So,
And
that,
do you have to be next to a community farm to, take advantage of the credit? So like I'm here in Columbia, does the farm have to be here in Columbia for
no.
me to?
No, the only rule there is the farm has to be built in the same utility footprint. So PG&E is Columbia. It could be built up in Hartford County, big farmland up there. Doesn't matter where it is. As long as you say, I want to be part of a farm, then you get the credits.
So I've heard people say that having solar panels on their houses though has caused them damage to their houses. And so when I hear you talk about the battery, I'm thinking that's probably going to also kind of minimize some of the damage.
Yeah, no holes in roofs. There's no, there's no maintenance. There's nothing to worry about. It's just a clean cut discount. Um, energy prices go up, the 10 or 15% follow whatever the price of the published utility is. So, when you do get solar, you should have a maintenance plan. They need to be cleaned to get the maximum energy production from them. If it snows while the snow's on it, you're not getting production. There's things that they don't tell you when they're putting it on, but they factor in over the law of averages, how many days it's going to be sunny and cloudy and all that to try to give you the best estimate of your production. But it all turns out to the cost of the system and whether you're financing it, interest rates, a lot to consider with that. With this, it's pretty plain and simple. You take 3 minutes, you say, I want to be part of it, and you start getting credits within 3 to 6 months from signing up.
So although we don't have the battery here in Maryland yet, we
We're
do have
working on it.
a solution that's close by here in District of Columbia as well as Delaware. And I didn't hear you mention that. Can you share about that one solution as well? And I know we're going to be wrapping up because we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, so no, the technology part of what I was talking about with our company, we have a service called AutoSave. And essentially, if you're with the utility right now, you're getting no benefit. You're paying what everybody else is paying. We say to you, hey, try us out. Come sign up to be an AutoSave customer. When we see opportunities to save you money, we will pull you to Think Energy. But if we can't, we push you back to the utility. So you're still always protected by what you would be paying anyway, but you might as well have the opportunity to save money by signing up for us. We do it automatically. You don't have to think about it. And customers are saving 5 to 20% on a regular monthly basis. And it doesn't
So,
cost anything to sign up.
so to be clear, to create the picture, if I'm paying, I'm gonna just say 13 cents a kilowatt with my Pepco bill, and Think Energy has it for 10 cents a kilowatt. For that month, if Think Energy's cost is 10 cents, you guys will pull me to Think Energy. So I'm only paying 10 cents a kilowatt. And then say next month, if Think goes up to, I'm just say 15 cents a kilowatt, and Pepco's still at 13 cents, you will push me back to Pepco, so I'm not paying the 15 cents, right?
Correct. You'll never pay, our guarantees, you'll never pay more than the utility, which gave us fast track licensing approval in the States. They gave us a fast track approval because they love our product. People can benefit by being on it. They can't get hurt. That's why that's when I talked to you in the beginning about all the things that I didn't like of what was happening with the initial stage of deregulation. This is the technology piece that's come along that's made it the perfect business for me because I can sign up 1 million customers and I never have to worry about renewing them or worrying about if they're paying more than the utility. I never have to worry about any of those things. It's a
And
beautiful.
they're not necessarily being hurt because what happens is when they were it was deregulated, you might have got them a good deal for 10 cents, and then 6 months later it was 15 cents.
Bingo.
So you had to go back and try and work something out. But
I
now,
pay attention. If I was a customer, if I didn't pay attention, the company could do anything they wanted. That's not
and,
good.
and that's not good. So it sounds like to me, Think Energy is finding solutions, and they're free solutions that save people money
Bingo. And help with the grid. Help
and
with
help with the grid for
Yeah.
Earth Day.
Bingo.
Um, and so I really appreciate having this conversation. And I was sharing with you before you got here with Nicole, we may have to have a monthly energy and power call, right? So that people can really understand, because it is a continued. I did go on Facebook and see some of the folks who were complaining about their energy bill, and it's painful. Like, a lot of people are like, how are we going to pay this increased bill? It's a lot for a lot of people right now.
Small businesses, they're debating whether they can exist or not. Because if you only calculated $1,000 for your utility costs and now they're 2,000, I mean, that does it make sense to own your little coffee shop anymore? It's that bad.
That's a
And
big dent. Nicole, you had your hand up?
Yes, because you just mentioned a couple of things, right? Can you speak about the if the credit receiving the credit is going to interfere with any other credits that they might have? So if somebody already receives a credit through Pepco, for example, or if they're already on budget billing or some type of payment arrangement, can you just go over, how that will work with the credit?
So with the community solar, no effect whatsoever. They can be on community solar and any other benefits that they get. As a matter of fact, if they have a benefit, they would get 15% with community solar instead of 10. So community solar, nothing. With autosave, a little different. If you're in DC with autosave or Delaware, if they're on budget billing, they can no longer be on budget billing. Okay. And it depends on some state programs. They might not allow them to be with a third party. So you just have to check that out. I would call the utility and see, but with community solar, it's no problem.
All right, and then one last question. A lot of people now are big on social responsibility, and I know that Think Plus has so much great things for nonprofits and churches, for example. Can you briefly go over that as well?
Yeah, so we have a couple things. We have a give back program at our company where for every customer that enrolls, $10 gets put into what's called community cash, which the advisors in the field get to say what happens to that community cash by their local nonprofit. So if you're an advisor and you're passionate about a local nonprofit or a school or something like that, you can nominate them into our program. They get logged in there, and the rest of the field can donate their community cash directly to that nonprofit. We also have a program for fundraising. So if you're a church or a school or a nonprofit, you can sign up as what's called an energy advisor and share our services with their constituents and raise money. So you think about it, you're raising money without charging anybody anything and benefiting them. So if you're a church and you have 1,000 people, you're saying, hey, everyone here should be part of the community solar program, and it doesn't cost you anything. You're going to save at least 10%. And we as a church are going to be able to get a new roof, or we're going to be able to send a missionary group to Haiti. We're going to be able to do, what I suggest to the nonprofits is tell the constituents, tell your congregation what it is you want to do with that money, earmark it, and you'll have a lot of success. Everyone will buy in, everyone will become a customer because they want to see that happen, that project happen.
And they're not even asking them for more money.
And they don't have to ask for any more money.
Oh, wow. And I think
I'm
in
sorry.
these times, go ahead, somebody, does somebody have a question?
Yeah, hi, this is Beverly. I'm sorry. Can you just go over the first part, what you said, as far as the donate? I'm sorry, and I'm hoping it's not too loud. You said the first part about donating. You can donate. Say something about $10 or something that you just said with the
Yes.
Okay.
So the company, for every customer, say there's 10,000 advisors in this company nationwide, and they're all going out and getting customers. For every customer that gets enrolled, $10 of community cash, it's called community cash, goes into a fund that in our back offices, we can see how much of that community cash is in our back office for us to be able to donate as individual advisors. But I can go in to my local community and say, there's a nonprofit. For me, I nominated a nonprofit called the Hopewell Center. Okay. They help with cancer survivors, kids that are part of a cancer family that lost a parent, for example. They do great work. I'm passionate about it because I've used the program. And I said, I have an opportunity to put them into our program and do a campaign to raise money for them. So I asked the field, hey, this is my nonprofit. It's called the Hopewell Center. This is what they do. If you could spare some of your community cash and make a donation, I'd be grateful for you. And lo and behold, everybody gave 10, 15 bucks. We got $2,500 in 5 hours. And I was
Wow.
able to go and make a donation to the Hopewell Center because they wanted to have a summer program for a weekend where kids could come and do arts and crafts and learn about, losing a parent. And, here's 10 other, or they actually had about 30 other kids that are all in the same boat. So let's do artwork together. Sometimes you get angry when you find out that you're the only one that lost a mom, and they can work it out with other kids going through the same thing. So that's just one small example, but yeah, it's a powerful program because it gives back to the local communities, and it's not just a company saying where their money's going to go. The company saying, we're going to give it up to you, our energy advisors, to go tell us what we should do with that money. Pretty cool.
Wow. So I know we've gone over. Does anyone else have any questions? Because we've gone over 10 minutes and I want us to wrap it up here. All minds and hearts are clear. Like we're in church. Are all minds and hearts clear? No. So I want to close out, Ed, and ask you one question. In 5 years from now, where do you think energy being a player in the ecosystem? Like, how do you think energy have an impact in our ecosystem?
I see, because of the emergency that's coming in the future with AI and energy, think energy being a household name because the technology we have is proprietary. It's patented. The only way someone could access it is if we license it to them. I think we're going to be able to be in every state in 5 years from now because states that even didn't deregulate are going to want our battery solution at a minimum. And I think every state is going to have a community solar program, not just the 15 states that already have it. It's contagious. People are starting to see the benefits of it. So what we are today is a 15-state opportunity. In 5 years, we will be a 50-state opportunity. We will have created more millionaires, entrepreneurs that are out there talking about this, and we will have done more for the environment than any other company. And I love the fact that you can have somebody that wants to be wealthy by doing something good. The more
Yes.
money you earn at Think Energy, the more good you did in your wake. And that's some people think you have to take a vow of poverty to be a greenie, do something good for the environment. Not with us. You can be filthy, stinking rich and have done more for the environment than anybody else. So I love the fact that opportunity exists for entrepreneurial people.
And so we're going to definitely have to have you come back and talk about that part. And I think more importantly, that what you just said, you can do something good for your environment and still build wealth. And that is why I'm very excited to be a part of Think Energy. And I look forward to building and doing a whole lot for the community because you can't help feed people if you don't have food or money. So
Bingo.
if you want more to help more people eat, you got to find a way to get them more food or you got to pay somebody to feed them. So with that, Ed, I want to thank you again for giving us this hour. I appreciate you and working with you has been a pleasure. And thank you. We'll get you back here next month and do another Empower Hour. You did
Look
good.
forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate you
you,
guys
guys.
calling
Thank
in.
you. Everybody thank Ed.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it very
Have
much.
a good rest of your day.
Cheers. You too.
All right. Peace to
Thanks,
you.
Ed.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Thank you, Ed.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Cheers.